You made your Republic of Ireland debut 2 years ago this month. Can you sum up what the last 2 years in this squad has been like for you?
Wow, I can't believe it's been 2 years already. It's felt like an absolute whirlwind, really. In some ways, 2 years ago feels so long ago, but then in other ways, it feels like only yesterday. With injuries and bits and bobs, I've not always been in over that time. And so, still, when I come in, I get that novelty feeling of getting to sort of see the girls again. And I'm just always so pleased to be involved. And so, yeah, hopefully, long may it continue.
Absolutely. What are the main differences for a player between playing for your country versus club football?
The main differences between club and national team football, firstly, it's just the amount of time that you get to spend with each other. So at club, you're seeing each other every single day. You're on the pitch every single day. Like, relatively speaking, you've got loads and loads of time to prepare for the games. And the players are from all different nations, which brings its own excitement and kind of flavour to it of sort of seeing different characters and different people from different places. On the flip side of that, playing for the national team, getting to represent your country, you don't get that much time with each other, and so it's always so special to kind of come in, and on one hand you want to sort of soak it in and settle in and see the girls, but on the other hand, you know, you've only got a few days to prepare for the game, so the expectation and responsibility to try and make the most out of each training session running into the games is so important. And then that level of specialness is also just on a different level in terms of being around a core group of people that have been involved in the same team for many, many years. Developing those relationships and friendships, it's kind of really taken to the next level, whereas obviously at club, players come and go, even though you do get players that stay consistently. I'd say those are the biggest differences.
Does your role within a squad, maybe in terms of the leadership you might play, like, do you find that changes a bit, or has that changed with Ireland, say, since you made your debut?
I think that your role is always changing with various different factors and for various different reasons. You play in different positions. There's different levels of competition for different positions at different times. Sometimes you feel yourself really in the core of always starting, and then sometimes it's about making an impact from the bench. And then laid on top of that, you start to get older, and so you feel like you have a responsibility to be really professional and appreciate all of the opportunities, maybe in a way that when I was younger I wasn't quite as aware of. So those are kind of the things that would really be on my mind and what I'm thinking about from the time that I've came in here 2 years ago. In many ways, things are quite similar. My personality and who I am as a character, I would say, is quite consistent in different groups. There's been incredible leaders on this team. We've had obviously Diane Caldwell and Niamh Fahey, who've just taken a step back and retired from international football, and then also Julianne Russell, who had been in previously for years, but had kind of had a bit of a break in between when she came in last year. And we obviously all know what she went on to achieve with the goals and baby Rosie. And so for me, when I came into the Ireland team, there was actually loads of leaders in a way that you're not always as lucky at club to have those like clear role models of characters that have been consistent faces in a unit or in a team for, well, decades really. And so it's our responsibility now as players that are kind of left within the group to do our best to take a step forward in terms of professionalism and ambition and all of the things that are going to help us try and qualify for the World Cup.
Feels like another new challenge then for you within the squad. But if we look back to your debut for Ireland, it arrived shortly after you coming back from your second ACL injury. How do you think those injuries and what you've overcome, I guess, have shaped your career both as a player and a person?
I think injuries firstly shape your career in terms of it makes it up and down. It kind of makes your career potentially less consistent as only one thing. And so I think that a gift has been the resilience that you naturally have to develop from having injuries. and also really, really appreciating how much of a unique opportunity it is to be involved with these squads. And I think when I was a lot younger, I just thought that these things just kind of happen, and if you don't qualify for something, or if the results don't go well, it'll happen again. I kind of took it for granted, not that I realised that that's what I was doing at the time, but it's only when I've been injured, when I've been out with long ACL injuries, where you're just absolutely dreaming of the day when you can set foot back out onto the pitch. It makes everything sweeter, and it makes me appreciate it a lot more. And so in a nutshell, I would say injuries have given me an emotional roller coaster. They've given me ups and downs, failures, kind of coming back in different shape in terms of my performances, my physical ability. That's always been up and down. But within that, I've had the opportunity to try and develop a consistency of character and intention and who I am as a person. And hopefully, no matter what I go on to do for the rest of my career and beyond football, that will remain. And that kind of vitality of character is something that I feel like everyone can develop that within football. And my lens of looking at that for this question is obviously about injuries.
And I guess it kind of, like you touched on, makes things that much sweeter. And I imagine it was difficult coming into the Ireland squad and then missing the World Cup with injury. But when they came back, the experiences they bring, like, you must have been able to kind of absorb a lot of that from them and see the impact that it had on the squad as an entirety.
Definitely. Obviously, I came in originally maybe in the Jan-Feb time, and then the World Cup ended up being in the summer. And really, that was never my journey that I'd been on. Those girls who had qualified for the World Cup had been on that journey for so long, and not just the girls who ended up going, but more players than that. Some went as training players like Harriet Scott and Jamie Finn, and other people who unfortunately didn't make it. And so in many ways I was like so personally disappointed that injuries had kind of affected me having a chance to really get stuck into the middle of that. But on the other hand, I appreciated the context that really I just kind of came into the fold, and as exciting as that would have been, it wasn't a path that I'd been on for a long time. And for me, Ireland was hopefully at that point and has become like a long-term thing. And there's nothing better than getting to start somewhere at the beginning of a qualifying campaign and grow with the team and see that through. And so probably the biggest difference in the team from going to the World Cup is actually believing that probably we deserve to be there. And so I think it's a double-edged sword sometimes when you go and do something for the first time. On one side, amazing, the headlines of how special it is, how unique an opportunity it is to break down barriers and kind of stretch and reach out beyond what you've done before as a nation. But on the other hand, sometimes that kind of underdog mentality can kind of weigh you down a little bit. And the biggest thing is to come back from those experiences and listen to the girls kind of be like, right, we need to get there again and we're going to go further. Everyone takes that, you sort of people stand a little bit taller in a way. And so that was, it's inspiring to be around, really.
And you would have got to see the impact of that World Cup on Ireland, coming back into camp then afterwards, seeing the growth, the interest, the fans, getting to go to the Aviva, like experiencing all that came with that is like the start of a journey, I guess. Again, you're experiencing something like that from the beginning. And that must be really special for you.
Really, really special. I remember my first camp, there was chat about whether or not we would be able to have the first game for the national team at the Aviva. I don't think that had happened at that point. That would have been Feb 2023. I hope that's right. That's just off the top of my head. And so even within that small space of time since then, to see the steps that have been taken to really project our team outwards and to really have the opportunity to be accessible and to inspire young girls is really special. I just remember on that camp, it felt like, could we make that step to the Aviva? Would we fill it up enough to kind of justify taking that step to a big stadium? And ultimately the answer was yes. And I guess that answer, if you don't know, is just to go and see and go and try it out. But it almost seems silly now looking back that was a real consideration as to whether that would be an appropriate thing, because now it's a great thing, and we've managed since then to have at least a couple of games each year, which also shows the progression of support from the FAI, which is obviously greatly appreciated. And then as a team, we have to keep performing so that we can keep pushing to get more and more and more.
We've got to talk about Euro qualification. We'll do it fast because I'm still not over it. I don't know about you. But that must have been difficult because, again, it felt like you were on this journey, this rhythm out of League B, doing well in League A. You know, it kind of felt like that was the next natural step. So it must have been really difficult for you all as a group in the way that it happened. And I guess it's a thing now, another new thing for you as a team to experience, picking yourselves back up and going again.
Yeah, I think you've just described it really well there. It ended up being such a disappointment because throughout that qualifying campaign, I felt like big steps had been taken. The team had qualified into League A, and then we'd been put into a group with some of the best teams in the world and finished, albeit finishing last. Our last result was 3-1 against France down in Cork, which was incredible. You know, they were off to the World Cup and a team that's really, really pushing at the top. And so going into that Wales double header, it felt like we had a great opportunity. It felt like that we could put our best foot forward and that we could control everything that we could control, and that finishing game at the Aviva potentially, you know, you almost think, wow, like you appreciate the enormity of what that could mean qualifying for the finals for the first time. And then obviously what happened, and we didn't get it over the line. We didn't win that game. And it was just so deflating and disappointing. Like you say, probably a unique experience for the team to have to experience really properly picking yourself back up just on the context of there being real expectation now. No longer is it the first time that this team will have qualified for a tournament at all, albeit this was the first time for the potential for the European finals. And so with expectation comes responsibility to perform. And unfortunately, in that moment, in that game, we didn't do it. And we have to sit with that and now go again and use that to kind of push us and motivate us forward.
It does feel like quite a clean slate situation in that, you know, we had the departures of Eileen Gleeson and Colin Healy, and like you touched on with the World Cup and recognising those who have gone before within that journey. Appreciate we're starting a kind of a new journey now, but you can also still appreciate the Eileen Gleeson and Colin Healy and what they did with the squad. And I guess it's another situation for you as a team to handle that kind of managing the transition of both players and staff. How has that been?
Definitely. I really liked Eileen and Colin. I had a lot of time with them. I got on with them really well, had a good relationship. And I think that they really took the team forward again. I think that as a team, we did really well to get out of League B into League A. I thought that we put a really good account of ourselves against some of the best teams in the world. The second leg against Sweden, for example, our second time against them in that group, and also obviously when we played France down in Cork. And a lot of that is obviously because of them. And so for them to then not be brought on the journey and to be let go, it's always really saddening to see people that you really like not being able to be involved anymore. And then taking the step on from that, obviously the FAI have appointed Carla Ward and her new management team, which is hugely exciting. She is somebody who comes with a lot of experience from the WSL. She's hugely ambitious. She is really in that go-getter mentality of what she wants this team to achieve. And when I was doing a lot of my media interviews yesterday, we hadn't had the chance as a group to sit down with her. She hadn't done her welcome talk yet. They came right at the start of camp. And so I wish I'd done them now, because I could have really spoken about what she's since been saying and what her vision is for us and how she wants us to play, and really give off that excitement that I think she deserves. And so I think Friday will be really exciting, because this team will look different in terms of how we play from previously. We will be trying to take a step forward in terms of being more progressive on the ball and more front-footed, and I think that's where probably as a team we've been craving to go if we want to take off the shackles of being seen and being feeling as an underdog. And who knows what that will look like when we play, and it's our responsibility to kind of run with it, really throw ourselves into it and make good on it.
So you've had your kind of intro now, I guess, with Carla. You've come together. Without giving too much away, what was the feeling in the room like? Because I guess it's a difficult thing for a new manager to come in and really impart what she wants in a short space of time and kind of energise you guys.
I think that what is clear about Carla from even having one conversation with her, whether it's about football or not, and I managed to meet her after one of our club games a while back when she'd first been appointed, is that her energy and her drive is infectious. And so she seems really excited and energised to take this team forward, and it's hard not to feel enthusiastic about that. And so that was really positive. We've got a great support staff around her. And what's also really clear is that, yes, she's a new appointment and she will bring her ideas, but she's also got a technical support team under her that will really deliver all of the details. For example, Alan Mahon, who's going to be the assistant, Amber, and also her analyst, Jackson, who's on the pitch, really involved in the sessions. And that is a step forward in terms of like resourcing for this team. I think previously we'd been used to having a head coach and then also a coach who was involved in the sessions, but God, it's the numbers aren't that hard. It's went from 2 to 4, but it's a step forward in terms of people and bodies on the pitch giving us that detail. And I think that is another one of Carla's strengths that she's brought, is with her experience in the WSL, she's brought people that she's worked with to really supplement her own knowledge and also give the best to us.
And I'm right in thinking you've worked under Carla's assistant, Alan Mahon, at Manchester City as well. So there's a bit of connection there, right?
Yeah, I worked under him for 2 years. It's been so nice to obviously see him again. He obviously worked under Nick Cushing at City, and then obviously latterly under Gaz Taylor. At City, the style of football is really possession-based, really technical. And when I went to City, that level of detail was just such a massive step up from everything that I'd experienced before in terms of technical ability. And so I was really excited to see how that is going to fit into what we do in our training sessions. And I think that Marnie, as I call him, like Alan, will be a massive figure on the team. And he's also a really, really nice person. He gets it. He's from Dublin. And I think the girls are going to really, really enjoy him.
Something you and I have talked about before is kind of the environment within the squad, the collectiveness of the team. And it's something that Carla Ward is big on as well. And it's something she's talked a lot about within the teams that she's worked with within the WSL, that collectiveness, a real people person. So how valuable do you think that would be in terms of coming into the squad and bringing that importance and highlighting that importance of that togetherness?
I think that it's massively important. It's clear that Carla is a people person, and the benefits of that as a player is that it just sets you at ease being around coaches who come across as being really clear with their communication. They want to be involved. They want to see how you're getting on. They want to know how you're doing. They want you to feel at ease. They want your family to come to the post-match area after the game. They want to make opportunities for you to get a little bit of downtime in the day. All those things that go around being on the pitch can also have an effect on obviously how you perform, which sounds really straightforward, but different coaches see things very differently. And so for her to come in and, number one, appreciate what a special team and environment it is, but then also really double down on that and try to really indulge in that and keep that as one of our super strengths. I think that speaks to her like experience and who she is as a person.
I like that, super strength. Obviously,
it's very corporate, isn't it?
No, it's kind of nice to consider it a strength. It's not often enough is put on the importance of that. So I think it's good to call it that. Obviously got Turkey tomorrow. You've then got Slovenia next week, you know, opening the Nations League, a new challenge. What are your targets now as a team, or have you gotten into that detail yet?
I think there's a great level of excitement just to see how the game goes. You know, our onus is to put our best foot forward. We're going to be playing in a slightly different island, so it's our job to just try and do that the best we can. We obviously want to win all the games. We want to, in the first instance, achieve what we achieved before in terms of qualifying out of the group. Every other team is going to want to do that as well. And we also respect the quality of the opposition. And it's clear when we've been looking at the opposition and how they play and individual players, they've got a great level of quality. And so it's for us to perhaps take off the shackles of being the underdog and really try and be aggressive and front-footed and progressive in how we play. Will it be as simple as that? Of course not. But that's our intention, and that's where the excitement and the enthusiasm under this new management is going to come from.
You've got me very excited. I guess finally, what are some of the biggest lessons you can learn and take from that Euro 2025 qualifying campaign and into this new campaign?
Biggest lessons, there's always so many things to take. A big one for me is appreciating the gravity of opportunities that come. These opportunities come every couple of years. They're few and far between, and so moments have to be seized. And also that it's okay to appreciate that a lot of things can be right, even if you don't end up getting exactly what you want, which obviously we didn't. There were many things about that qualifying campaign that took this team forward under Eileen and Colin, and so it's also okay to say elements that are actually really good, and you can still fall short. And so I think the obvious one to always say when there's a level of failure that happened in terms of us not qualifying is that we have to use that hunger and that disappointment to really fuel us going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I think you hit the nail on the head there in terms of that's probably what made it so hard I'm still not over it, is that you watch it and think it's actually quite hard to pinpoint the reason, the one thing, because like you say, a lot of things can go right and it still doesn't always go your way. So that's a really nice kind of lesson more broadly in life, I think, to take away.